The Marvels. Very rarely have I fully expected a movie to be bad. I mean, I was prepared for like bottom of the MCU type stuff. And it sucks to say because it's an awful mindset, but part of me wanted this movie to be bad. I'm not sure why, but I went in with so many negative feelings and so many bad expectations. I was ready for this movie to be bad. And then I liked it.
You didn't see that coming.
Higher. Further. Faster.
The Marvels is directed by Candyman director Nia DaCosta, who also co-wrote the script, and it is the 33rd film in the MCU. Can you believe that? We are on movie 33, and they're still going. And it serves as a sequel to not only the 2019 Captain Marvel movie, but also WandaVision, Ms. Marvel, and Secret Invasion, as it teams up Carol Danvers, Kamala Khan, and Monica Rambeau into the titular team. Let's address the elephant in the room. This movie is short. Clocking in at only an hour and 45 minutes with credits, it is the shortest film in the MCU, 7 minutes shorter than The Incredible Hulk, who is the previous title holder. And that's something that worried me going in, because for a team-up movie to be under 2 hours, to me that just sounds like it means things are going to move way too quickly. And while certain aspects of this movie do feel like they're moving a bit fast, for the most part it actually felt like it was the perfect length. And this was apparently not a corporate decision. Like, we know that for Love and Thunder, Bob Chapek mandated that Marvel make that movie 2 hours tops, so they left a lot of good stuff on the cutting room floor. But for this movie, Nia DaCosta will tell you, she was adamant on making a movie under 2 hours. And I respect that. Brie Larson returns in this movie as Carol Danvers, and for me the most important task that this movie had to accomplish was making me care about Captain Marvel. Because for years she has been my least favorite MCU hero, which is a bummer because I really like comic book Captain Marvel, but I do not like movie Captain Marvel. And it brings me immense joy to say that this movie did just that. My biggest problem with Carol Danvers in the first film is that she's portrayed as this perfect, flawless hero who can do no wrong, and there are never any consequences for her actions. Well, this movie fixes that. It takes all of those perfections that she had in the first movie and it frames them as imperfections, showing that she's not some perfect person. And while this is externalized through the villain and the dynamic with the other Marvels and the way Carol acts with certain characters, it's also internalized, giving Carol a big emotional struggle throughout this film as she has to deal directly with things that she thought she was doing right. And this leads to interesting dynamics with the Marvels. If I had to critique one thing with this very concept of what they did with Carol Danvers, it's that they actually don't lean far enough into it. I think they personally could have gone a lot further with how she and the other characters interact given her current mental state. But it's everything I wanted out of this character. It's like Nia DaCosta personally said, "John, what didn't work in the first movie so that I can fix it in this one?" But Carol Danvers is not the only Marvel in this movie. Ms. Marvel, Kamala Khan, Carol Danvers superfan, returns in this movie. And she gets to meet her hero and fight alongside her in this one. And that provides a really interesting dynamic, not just between Ms. Marvel and Carol Danvers, but it's a juxtaposition to how Carol and Monica interact. And I'll talk about Monica momentarily, but Iman Vellani, I think, was the standout of this film. And in a movie with an Oscar-winning lead actress and Samuel L. Jackson, Iman Vellani delivered my favorite performance of the movie. And that's made even more impressive by the fact that she has the hardest job in this movie. Because Kamala Khan is supposed to be the audience. Carol Danvers and Monica Rambeau are around all this weird space, timey-wimey, multi-dimensional alien stuff all the time. Kamala's not. This is her introduction to it, and in that way, it's our reintroduction as an audience, and we see this crazy world through the eyes of Kamala Khan. For example, it's in the trailer, so it's not a spoiler. Here's what happens when Miss Marvel meets Goose. And the character of Miss Marvel is my favorite character in this film. She actually has a lot more relevance to this plot than I thought she would. She's linked to the villain in a certain way that you can gather from the trailer, but I won't get into because this is a non-spoiler video. And so even though we all saw it coming from the trailer, it was still a welcome surprise. And just seeing how much play she got was great. But Kamala's love for Carol provides an interesting dynamic, because Kamala views Carol a lot like how Carol was portrayed in the first Captain Marvel movie. Kamala sees her as this perfect, flawless person who can do no wrong. She even says at one point in the film, "Don't worry, Captain Marvel will save you." That's how she views Carol Danvers. And this is much different than the relationship between Carol and Monica. One of the questions we have had since WandaVision was what happened that Monica Rambeau is showing some sort of resentment towards Carol Danvers. And they answer that in this movie. And it's a good enough answer, but I don't think they went far enough with it at all. I think they took the safe route in answering that question instead of really diving into the nitty-gritty like they could and should have. And it pains me to say it because Monica Rambeau was one of my favorite parts of WandaVision, and I love the way Tiana Paris plays this character. But Monica Rambeau is the weak link of the team. Carol's given so much to do, and Kamala is a delight, of course, but Monica feels like she's here not because the character has a reason to be, but because the plot needs her to be. She's the character that mainly answers other characters' questions and brings characters together, but she's not pushing things forward as much as the other characters are. But the selling point of this movie was seeing these three heroes team up. And when they are together, it is a delight. They have a great dynamic and they make a great team. As seen in the trailers, the gimmick of this film is that all three of these characters switch places when they use their powers. And that not only provides an interesting story, but also really interesting ideas for action. The story reason for the switch is actually kind of a letdown, not being nearly as complex as it could. But from an action standpoint, this concept excels. The action sequences in this film are some of my favorites in the multiverse saga, and the fight choreography is off the charts, combining each character's specific power set with the fact that they can switch and using those to bounce off each other. One of my favorite bits of choreo in this film is such a small moment, but it's Carol and Monica trying to shoot two beams at a person in between them, but they switch right when it happens, so instead they shoot them that way and completely miss the villain. So small, but so clever. And I cannot wait to rewatch the final fight of this movie once it is out on Blu-ray. And it's made even better by the fact that none of them fight the same. Sure, while they have similar enough power sets, they all fight in completely different ways. Carol's much more of a brawler. Kamala's super agile and jumps around a lot, relying on her powers to give her advantages. And Monica is more of a strategic fighter. I mean, she has agent training, so there you go. And so it's really cool to see how all three of those styles come together and bounce off one another when they start switching. The action in this movie is the best part of this movie. However, not everything in this movie is good. Just as I thought Marvel had moved past it because they've been on a W streak with it, they proved to me that the villain problem has not necessarily gone away fully. Because the character of Dar-Benn, who is the villain in this movie, played by Zawe Ashton, is the single biggest letdown of this film. For as many times as she appears in the movie, which is surprisingly frequent, it doesn't feel like they ever did anything to try to develop her or flesh her out. And it sucks because you can see the potential that she has, they just never do anything to flesh her out or develop her anymore besides just her basic traits as to why she's being a bad guy. The movie's definitely more focused on the dynamic between the three heroes than it is on its villain, which is fine, but you gotta give your villain something, especially when the movie explains very early on that she and Carol have a past. But then the only scenes between her and Carol from there to the end of the movie are just them fighting. There's no emotional weight in that at all. And the resolution to the story is a weak point for me. The resolution to the movie is great. I love how the movie ended. But the resolution to the story felt a bit rushed and like it took a hard turn from what the rest of the movie was doing. It felt like it was more of a corporate decision than a creative decision, and it doesn't like actively ruin the movie. It's just not where I thought the film was going, and personally not how I would have wrapped it up. And one more thing that I'm not convinced people will love about this movie, I think it's going to be a very divisive aspect. I mean, hell, the tomato meter shows it's already divisive. This movie is very comic booky. It does things that should not work outside of a comic book. For the most part, a lot of those things worked for me, but they will not work for everyone. And there is one sequence in particular in this movie that I can safely say, I would put money on it, that people will hate. And I mean truly hate. And when you see the movie, you will know what scene I am talking about. It's one of my favorite parts of the movie. People are really not gonna like it. It was a risk that I personally think paid off. Overall, The Marvels is a pretty fun time. It's nowhere near being one of the best MCU movies, but then again, it's not trying to be. It's just trying to be a fun space adventure with these three heroes, and it fixes pretty much all of the issues I had with Captain Marvel in the first movie, which surprisingly left me wanting to see more of this character. I know, right? Shocking. I was gonna give this movie a grade, but I changed my mind because I think I'm past the point of giving a movie a single defining value. I would rather just give you my thoughts and let you decide for yourself. So I will instead leave you with these final closing thoughts. The Marvels incorporate so many things that I feel modern MCU has been missing. It has consequences to its story. It has good character work. It has jokes that do not undercut scenes. It has really exciting action. And most importantly, it has emotion. You won't be crying by the end of this film, but you will feel things that you did not expect to feel going into the movie. At times, I felt like I was watching an installment of the Infinity Saga. And there you guys go, that is my review of The Marvels. I will have a spoiler review out for you in the next couple days. I'm actually seeing it again tonight, and then I'll have a spoiler review because I want to see it multiple times. But what did you guys think of the movie if you've seen it? Let me know down in the comments below. No spoilers, please, and what you thought of my review. Also, leave a like on this video, subscribe, click on the bell icon to receive all notifications from the MCU HQ. That's going to be it. Have a great day, guys.